Hi, I'm Marius from MS Photography, and welcome back to another episode of Digital Photography Today, the show where you will learn how to become the master of your camera. Now, in this week's episode, it's also the last episode of Season 3 of Digital Photography Today. We are going to talk about time-lapse photography and the basics of time-lapse. Reason for that is I'm not a professional on the subject. Every now and then I see a beautiful scene and I think to myself, I wonder what this would look like. There's nice clouds coming by. I wonder what this would look like as a time lapse. And I shoot one. But I don't go out every day shooting time lapses. So I'm going to talk about the process of how I shoot my time lapse, as well as the processing side. I'm going to show everyone a very quick little free application you can use that will quickly put your time lapse together. Because if you don't have software, how are you going to play back your time lapse? Okay, and if you don't know what time lapse is, time lapse, if you look at the video I'm showing you now, this is a time lapse captured, I think, over like anything from 5 to 8 hours. I can't remember. I'll actually have to go look now. And you'll notice it plays in like 20 or 30 seconds, but you can see all these misty clouds coming over these 3 pecan trees in this river. Now, like I said, this is a very long time frame, and the clouds moved so slowly that it didn't look like this. But because I captured all those images and then played it back very quickly, it looks like the clouds are moving at a very fast pace. Now, this is time lapse. So you show a video of a lapse of time. So maybe it's 5 hours or 10 hours, or maybe something that happened in 1 hour. Maybe it's someone building something and you want to show everyone how the person built the entire project, but it took him an hour. You want to show it in 10 seconds. Then you can speed up your time lapse, basically all the pictures you've taken, and create a video from it. So that's what time lapse is. So when you take your pictures, it's important. There's a few things you need to do, and your planning is very important. So if you want to take maybe a nice landscape and you see, okay, I love this landscape, look at your weather. If you want cloudy weather, then go there when it's cloudy. Plan your shot. Don't drive 10 minutes before the light is good to the location if you need 30 minutes to get there. So plan your time lapse. Get there in time so that you can set up the shot so that you can properly take all the images. You will need your tripod because you're going to have to keep the camera still and for a very long time. All the time lapses I've done have been usually very long, like 5 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours. So the camera needs to be on that tripod, shooting image after image after image. Now, also, you need to be careful of your security because you are sitting at one spot with your camera taking pictures, and a lot of the time lapses I've done have been at nighttime as well. So I need to sit there 5 hours or 6 hours in the dark with my camera. So always be careful of security, that you don't get mugged or anything or lose your gear. Okay, then the images you take, for me, it's important that I've got consistency. So all the time lapses I've shot have been in manual mode. So I know, like for instance, that those pecan trees, I shot them at night. So the lighting really won't change that much. It's nighttime, it's just clouds coming past. The difference in the lighting is very little, if at all. So I shot in manual exposure. So I set up my images or my exposure, took the shot, looked at what the trees look like in that river at night. And it was obviously a long exposure. It looked good. I loved it. And I thought to myself, okay, this is the shot. Now let's set up the camera to take the shots for me. Okay, so how do you take all those multiple time-lapse images? Because obviously your camera needs to take all the images. You can't sit there and manually focus every time and shoot. You're going to move the camera, which will obviously create a rattle. And trust me, when you've set up your camera and your intervalometer, I'm going to talk about the intervalometer, to take the pictures for you, do not touch your camera. I have in the past, when I just started taking time lapses, I touched my camera by pressing the preview button in between to take a look at what at the images the camera is taking. And then you won't believe me, I moved the camera so slightly, but when the time lapse plays back, you can see the camera quickly jerks. So once you have the camera shooting your time lapse, don't touch anything. Just leave the camera to do what it needs to do. Okay, so you're going to need your tripod. And then obviously you're going to have to set the camera to take the pictures for you. Now this is where your intervalometer comes in very handy. Now I don't have one with me to show you guys because I sold mine with all my older gear, because my newer cameras have already got intervalometer built in. So you can go check your manual or read up on your camera to see if you already got one. Like my mirrorless and my SLR camera have both got it built in. Just go read up on your camera to see if it does. So when you've got intervalometer, you'll basically get a screen telling you, okay, how many pictures do you want? And then you can say, okay, take 100, take 500, take 900. And then you also tell the camera basically the time in between those images. So maybe you want a picture every 5 seconds and you want 500 of them. Then the camera will then take a picture, count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, take another picture, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take another picture. And so the camera will just continue taking pictures of the scene that you've got there. To give an example, if you look at this grass that's growing, it's called pet grass. It's also a time lapse. I'm going to show you. I'm going to put this together for you in the program. I'm basically looping this video now because there's so much information to look at in this time lapse. We bought this pet grass that you grow and then the dogs eat it, but our dogs didn't like it at all. So I thought to myself, I wonder what it would look like when this grass actually grows. So I put a video light on the grass to light the grass consistently, so obviously the light's not changing, and then I set my camera manual exposure and then set up the intervalometer and told the camera take the shots. And I just closed the door to the studio, left it, and the camera was just shooting the entire day, capturing this grass as it grows. I think that was almost like 8 hours or 10 hours, 11 hours. I can't even remember anymore, but it was quite a long time. I left the camera to just take those pictures. So your intervalometer is important. If you don't have one built into your camera, you can find them on eBay. They are not that expensive. I'm guessing like $20, $30. You can buy one that will fit your camera. And then with that, it's basically the same as having a cable release. So if you've got a cable release, you know, if you plug that thing in, you press the button, it takes a shot for you. The intervalometer is basically the same thing. With this, you can just tell the camera to go on by itself, take the shots for you. Okay, so you've got your camera on your tripod. You've got the camera set up, manual exposure. You've got everything properly set up. You've got your intervalometer. You tell the camera to go and shoot. Then you just leave it. Let the camera take all the pictures. Usually, if you've got intervalometer, you can see on the screen, it's counting down how many pictures it has taken, so you can see when it's done. Also, make sure your batteries are fully charged when you do this. It can really chow your batteries. That thing's shooting the entire day. So if you can get 1,000 pictures on your one battery, then you know you can get 1,000 shots. If your battery is like 30%, obviously halfway or 30% of your time lapse, your camera's going to die on you, and you can't take the camera off the tripod to change the batteries. Trust me, that little pieces of movement, you're going to see it jerk when the thing plays back, when you play back your time lapse. Okay, now what I love to do is to shoot my time lapse in RAW as well. So I've got a very nice file to play around with to do my processing. Like for instance, that pecan trees, I shot it on the D7000 and I processed the RAW file, did all my editing on it. And when you do this, because obviously now you've got like 5 or 6 or 7 or 800 pictures all looking the same because you took a picture of the same scene. Now you need to, if you edit one image, you need to obviously sync it over all your pictures so that everything looks consistent. So when a movie plays back, you don't want one picture to be brighter than the other one to be darker, and one to have more contrast in the greens, or the one that has more blues than the other one. You need consistency. So when I shoot my time lapse, I'll shoot RAW. I'll go into either camera RAW or I'll go into Lightroom. Lightroom wins 100% of the time, so I'll most probably use that. Then I'll edit the first image, then take the first image and go to the last image, and then say synchronize and sync all those settings over. A few minutes later, you'll see your entire time lapse is completely synced over. And then it's also very important how you crop it, because you need to keep in mind when you process. I'm just discussing the editing side. I'm not going to show everything. I'm rather going to show you the app that we're going to use to put the time lapse together. So when you've done your editing and you're happy with everything, you also need to think about your cropping, because your time lapse will now be in a 3:2 ratio. If you're going to play back your time lapse on a TV, you need to remember your TV's got a 16:9 ratio. So obviously it's not going to look that awesome on a TV. So what you can do, for instance, in Lightroom or in Camera Raw, you can do your cropping. Set the ratio to 16:9, then you know your picture that you're going to get when you view it on your TV, it's going to fit nicely the entire frame of your TV. Then you do your cropping on the one image, like your first image. Then when you sync it over, remember you took all those pictures on a tripod, they are all the same. So you don't need to move the crop, obviously, because you want all the pictures to be consistent when you put your time lapse together. So then you sync the crop over as well. So then when you're done with all the editing in Lightroom or in Camera Raw and you export those pictures, you can do that in Photoshop with Image Processor if you're doing Camera Raw, or if you're using Lightroom, you obviously go to export, you select all those pictures. And then when you save them, I would also recommend you resize them, because obviously your pictures are still going to be big. They're going to be cropped with a 16:9 ratio, but your pictures are still going to be a high resolution. So then crop it so it fits in nicely on your TV's resolution. So if you've got a full HD TV, it's going to be 1920 by 1080 pixels. So then you go to the resize and you put it in there, 1920 by 1080, and then you export all your JPEGs. Now, all your exported JPEGs will be like when you, as you see on my screen now with the screen grab, you can see this folder of the pecan trees. You can see the entire list of all those pictures. There's, I think there's almost 600 of them in here. This is the entire set of pictures that I exported of those pecan trees. So it's really very quick. If you shoot raw, you edit your first image, you sync over all the images. It literally takes seconds. If it's a lot, maybe a minute for the thing to update all the pictures, but you just export everything and then you're ready to go. So the next step I want to show you is a program called Virtualdub, free application. I'm going to show you how it works, and we're going to put the time lapse together. Okay, the first thing that we will need is Virtualdub. So go to virtualdub.org. You will get this website, and it's a free app. It does an amazing job at putting together our time lapse. And there's at the side you'll see downloads. Click on that, and then you just download Virtualdub. Okay, now after you've installed the program and you open it up, this is what you'll get. Go to File at the top, open Video File. The program is really very quick. You'll soon see there's not a lot of options that you'll need to set. Okay, now here you can see the grass, the pet grass time lapse I did, and there's more than 800 pictures in this folder. That's going to put together the time lapse of that we can see how the grass is growing. Now you only need to click on the first image. You can see it says automatically load linked segment. So the program already know that when I click on the first one, this is a segment. So I just double click the first image, and you'll see at the bottom there's a slider. And then when I run with the slider, you can actually see the grass moving back and forward as I drag the slider. If you look at this section right, you can actually see as it's lifting up there. I think there's one part here where the grass actually comes out. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's so much to look at on this screen. Like for instance, if you just look at that segment right there while I'm running this thing, just look at how that grass is turning around and growing, coming out there. Okay, so it already put all the frames together. Now we need to set our frame rate. Now the frame rate is very important because that will tell the program at what speed it needs to play back this video. So because there's 800, just over 800 images, for instance, if I play it back at 80 frames a second, you'll basically see the entire clip in 10 seconds. So depending on your frame rate, it will change how fast you'll actually be seeing the entire production. So you can change the speed of your video by changing your frame rate. Okay, so I need to go to video at the top, then I need to go to frame rate, and then choose my frame rate. Now this is quite a lengthy video to watch if the frame rate is slow, and this moves really slowly. So I'm going to choose, say, let's make it say 40 frames a second. So then basically we'll get about, say, around about 20 seconds of footage. I'm going to click on that. Now very important is a flicker that you sometimes get with your time lapses. I sometimes get where I don't have any flickers at all, and other times I do get. So when I'm reaching in near the end, do you notice here in this section right here, there's a whole bunch of flickering going on there. I'm not sure if it's maybe also due to the video light I'm using. It can also be that. So to get rid of that, there's a de-flicker filter. Now before I show you the filter, I first want to produce the video so that you can see what the flickering looks like. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of it. So now that we've got our frame rate set, that's fine. We are going to use the filter soon for the deflickering, but not now. Now we need to choose what the compression is like. Otherwise, it's going to be an uncompressed video file. It's going to be huge. So go to compression. Then I always use, I've got this installed for such a long time. There are other codecs you can use as well. I use this Xvid MPEG 4 codec. and then I just click on configure, and you can put in here the compression. You can make it maximum if you want to, and then I just click OK. Then I know my file will not be that massive because it's going to be compressed. Okay, then I can also put in here some audio. So now if I save the video, it will export the video, but it won't be any audio in here. So I'm going to audio here, and then I'm going to add audio from other file. I've already copied in this temp time-lapse folder I created for this project now, of audio file that I got off the YouTube audio library. So it's audio friendly for when I upload this to YouTube. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm just going to say auto detect the bitrate, and then I go to file and then save as. Now I'm going to call this just grass, and I'm going to leave it like that because we're going to do one which I'm going to call deflicker so that you can see the difference. Then I can say save, and you'll notice as it's saving the file, you've got here your total estimated time as well as your elapsed time. And because these show input output are ticked, you can actually see the video as it's building it. These are the input frames. Now, because the frames are very big, the output frame is actually outside of the view, so you can't see the output. If I untick it, it won't really do anything. It's just saving me resources by not showing that output because you can't see it anyway. So you can see the entire video as it's building it. Here you can start to see a little bit of flickering happening here. That's why, because you still don't have that deflicker filter included, it really makes a very big difference. Okay, so this one is almost completed, only a few more seconds. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to include that filter that does the deflickering for us. So now I'm going here to the top, to video again, and I'm going to choose filters. I'm going to add. Now I can't remember where I downloaded this deflicker filter, but you can see it's from a guy named Donald Croft, and it's deflicker, the one I've got on here is 1.3, so just Google that and see where you can download that for Virtualdub. It was also free. Now you'll see it says removes temporal frame luminance variations, basically that flicker that we just saw. Click on OK, click on OK, again on OK, and then file save as. I'm going to give it the same name, but I'm going to put in here deflicker. Save once again. Now because that flicker filter has now been enabled, you'll notice this video will take a little bit longer. The previous one took about 1.5 minutes to export. You'll see this one will actually take a little bit longer. It's already at 1.5 minutes. And it's going to almost 2 minutes. The previous video was rendering at 8.8 frames. This one is rendering at 5.5 frames. You can see the filter does make it a little bit slower at exporting. Okay, now this video is almost done. As you can see, it took almost 2.5 minutes to export the one with the deflicker filter enabled. I'm also going to do another one where I'm going to increase the frame rate, and I'm going to take it to say 80 frames. So then the video will basically play back twice as fast. So I go to video, filters, oh not filters, wrong one, frame rate, and I make this 80 frames a second. And then again file save as, and I can keep that on Flickr and just put 80 next to it so that we know this is the one that's done at 80 frames a second. I'm going to untick this show input and output. Okay, now our third time lapse is basically done. So once this is done, let's have a look at what we created. Okay, so when I go to my second screen to go to preview them, this is the first video that we did. Now you can see here as the grass is growing, and like I said, it should be about 20 seconds. I was right. You can see how everything is growing. Now when you reach about here, you can start to see this flicker happening in the grass. This is without a deflicker filter. Okay, now I don't know how that audio sounded when I played the video back, because I just remembered I'm not recording system audio, only this microphone's audio, so you should have heard the music playing in the background, but it might not have sounded that great. Here's the video again at 40 frames, but this time with the deflicker filter added. You'll notice here we don't see that flickering anymore. You can see when we reach here, no flicker in here. So that deflickering really does an amazing job. And then here's the same video, but now at 80 frames. So now we'll get 10 seconds worth of video footage. But now you can quickly see the grass screen is growing a lot faster. So the faster we make that frame rate, the faster the video will play back. So depending on what you're trying to show people, you will change the frame rate depending on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, that's all for this episode on the basics of time-lapse photography, and I hope you will have an awesome time shooting time lapses, putting them together, and why not join the Digital Photography Day Facebook group and submit your time lapses and show the people the awesome stuff you can do. And then, if you enjoy these episodes, click that subscribe button and get my episodes as they come out. Then I'll see you again soon. Bye.